Hello, welcome to my channel Devops with Prasanna. This is day 16 in Learn AWS in 30-day series. And today we are going to set up authentication using AWS Cognito. So after completing the preparation for this session, I felt very happy about the progress we made because we have a fully working application now, which is a proper three-tier application. So I'll show a quick demo of the application and you'll get to know about it. So this is a quiz app which we developed. So it is on the domain quiz.easyinfra.dev. So you are also feel free to check this app. So I can sign in with Cognito. This is what we are going to set up in today's session. I can give my username and password. Okay. So this is our dashboard page. So this will fetch all the information from DynamoDB about the various quizzes available. And if we select one of the quiz, it will fetch the questions for that particular quiz. We'll quickly answer this one. Log groups. What are the AWS services which has integration CloudWatch? What is the default monitoring period for EC2 instance? Just 10 minutes. Okay. So we can answer this quiz, and if we submit this, again this information will be sent back to Lambda, where it will calculate the score for this particular quiz, and we'll get back the score here. The score is 3, the percentage is 60 out of 100. Okay, so this is a very short demo, and this is a fully functional app. So we'll quickly see the architecture of this one. So it is completely based out of AWS Serverless services. Okay, so the front end is deployed in AWS Amplify. The front end framework is Next.js, so that's what we are using. And the authentication is done using AWS Cognito. This is something which we are going to set up in today's session. And once a sign-in is successful, the Cognito will return the JWT token, which is a JSON web token, and that is an identity token for us. So in all the other API calls, this identity token will be passed. So JWT token is passed to Backend, which is the API gateway. API gateway in turn check the validity of the token with Cognito. This is something which we are going to set up in today's session. And once a token is valid, it will send the information to Lambda. And Lambda will get the information from DynamoDB and pass back the result to the front-end application. So this is the entire architecture, and this is what we are developing from day 12 to today's day 16. Yeah, so I'm very much excited. Let's get set up with the AWS Cognito and see the fully functional lab. Intro to AWS Cognito. So this time I'm going to follow a slightly different structure. So I'll just give a very brief introduction about Cognito, and then what are the components we are going to create in the demo, and then we'll jump straight into the demo itself. Once the demo is complete, we'll discuss about all the theoretical aspects. So the first one, like AWS Cognito. So Cognito is a managed service which will take care of all the user management for us. And it has its own database to store all the user information, permissions, and things like that. So we don't need to worry about any of this database structures or what are the attributes, how to fetch the attributes, and things like that. AWS will take care of all the things for us. So in this demo, we are going to set up AWS Cognito to do the authentication for us. So authentication in the sense, we are going to store the username and password. It will check if the username and password is valid or not. Okay. So this AWS Cognito, it has two services in it. One is a Cognito UserPool. One is a Cognito Identity Pool. UserPool, as the name signifies, it stores all the user information, permissions, and things like that. And it can support the sign-in, sign-out, and things like that also. So for example, if we do a successful sign-in, it will give back the token for us. So that token will indicate it is a valid user. And it will have few other components like hosted UI. So we can create our own UI for the login page and things like that. So this is about the user management. And in case of identity pool, this is to give information about or to give access to the AWS services. So that's where we'll use an identity pool. So for example, in the previous lecture, we have seen giving access to users using IAM, IAM users, IAM roles and permissions. That is one way. Using Cognito identity pool is other way. The difference is identity pool is a temporary access. So for example, if you have user in user pool, temporarily you can give permissions to certain AWS resources. And once that period is expired, like the permissions will be automatically revoked. So that is the functionality of identity pool. And the user pool will be used in all the apps and mobile apps, web apps and mobile apps to do the authentication. This is from the application perspective. This is from the AWS services perspective. So I hope you would have understand this difference. Like application perspective in the sense, the user who is going to log in will not have any access to the underlying AWS resources. For example, you can go and access the quiz.easyinfra.dev domain now, which means you are going to use DynamoDB and things like that. But you can't go and see the tables, or you can't see the structure of the tables. You can't modify the tables. But in case of identity pool, we are giving the backend backdoor access. Meaning, if you get the identity pool access, you can go and see the DynamoDB if you have proper permission set. So that is the idea. Cool. So now we'll go into the demo preparation part, and then we'll quickly see the demo also. So first, we are going to create a Cognito user pool. This is where we'll define certain parameters like how the user should be authenticated, whether it's an email password authentication, or it's going to be a Google sign-in or Facebook sign-in, or how it's going to be. So we are going to define all the things here. And then we are going to create a hosted UI, meaning like this hosted UI will be used for the login page. So you can define how the CSS should be, how the layout should be, and all the things there. And once this hosted UI is done, then we are going to create an app client. So this application client is an important concept. For each and every user pool, we'll say these are the applications which are going to use this user pool. So in our case, Quiz app is a application which is going to use that user pool and do the authentication and things like that. And once that is done, we are going to update the Cognito information, the ID and then secrets in our application. So it will start using the Cognito hosted UI for us. This will be in the application side of things. We are going to update the secrets for it. Once that is done, we are going to add the authentication in the API gateway also. So API gateway will know when a token comes in to which Cognito user pool it should check against. And once it verifies the token, then only it will allow the request to proceed to Lambda. So this is what we are going to see in the demo today. Yeah, let's get started. So this is the Amazon Cognito's homepage. So you can see there are two type of components available. One is a user pool, the other one is an identity pool. We are going to create a new user pool. So in the authentication providers, we can either use identity providers, meaning we can have Google sign-in or Facebook sign-in. But in this case, we are going to go with email and password-based authentication. So we'll have Cognito user pool. We are going to use email for the sign-in option. And then it gives something called password policy. So we can define what should be the password length, like whether it should have numbers, uppercase, lowercase, and things like that. I'm going to go with the default things. See, this is the advantage of Cognito. Maybe like we are going to see the advantage in future in a bit. But this is going to be a very good thing because we don't need to worry about, or we don't need to code for these requirements. So we just need to choose the things and it will be available for us. So if we say custom, we can say like we can ignore the number. But in this case, we'll go with the default thing. And multi-factor authentication. So if we want to have the second authentication mode or not. For example, once you are signed in with username and password, we can check for additional authentication like a time-based OTP or OTP which is sent to your mobile phone. But in this case, we are not going to use any of these things. But configuring MFA is just a checkbox. That's it. And self-service account recovery is also there. And enable self-registration. So people can go and sign up by themselves. It is also allowed. Okay, verify and confirm is there. So it can send an email and verify the user's email is valid or not. Okay, send email. This is fine. Email address is there. Required attributes. We'll go with the default option, which is the email ID is the only required attribute. But we can ask for other details like the name, gender, and things like that. But we'll make it like very simple. Cool. And then we'll configure the email things. So send email with Amazon SES. Maybe in future we'll see about the SES service, but as of now we are going to go with the Cognito itself because it's easy to set up, and we can send 50 emails per day, and it's going to come from no reply at verification email. So this is also fine. Cool. Now we came to the last piece. So the user pool name, I'm going to say learn a quiz. Okay, I'm going to name it as Learn Quiz App Setup. Cool. So this is going to be the initial app client. So if you remember, like this user pool is going to be used by these applications. So I'm going to give my application name, which is a quiz app, quiz portal, I'll say. And then I want to generate a client secret. The callback URL is quiz, let's say www.quiz.easyinfra.dev. Okay. And I'll leave the other attributes as it is. Cool. So we have the Cognito user pool. This is the last page, which is a confirmation page. Okay, all the things looks good for us. Email, okay, with UI. And this is going to be our domain for the UI, the login page. Okay, cool. I think these things looks perfect. So create the user pool. Okay, so learn quiz app setup. This is what we created. So what we are going to do now is the next piece is to use this Cognito pool in our application. So I'm going to say, go to AWS Amplify and then go to this application. And here we are going to go to the environment variables. So I'm going to remove all these environment variables and then use a different one. So client ID. Cognito client ID, we can get it from app integration. So if I go to my app, this is a client ID. So this is what it is. And then I want to see the secret also. Okay. And then there is a Cognito issuer, which will be available in this place. So this user ID pool is the only thing which will change. So if you see the structure here, it's going to be Cognito IDP always. And our region is AP South 1. And the ID pool details. So all the other things looks good. So I'll save this. I'll go back to my app. I'll go back to my master. And then I'll say redeploy this version. So all the updated keys will be available for us. Maybe I'll just quickly do one thing. I'll go to my hosted UI and change the logo for this. So we know when we are logging in, this is the place where we have to see. So I'll use this log image. So our sign-in page will be like slightly different. So this looks good. So we set up the Amplify also. So once this deploys, we can test the application. But there is one more component which we have to add, which is the API gateway. So what I'll do is, I'll go to our API gateway, which is the quiz app. And then if I go to this get method, I'll go and update the authenticator which we have to use. So for that, I'll create the authenticator first. So for example, if I go to my quiz app, this is my API. There is something called authorizers. So I already have two authorizers. I'm going to create one more authorizer. The name of this is learn quiz app setup. It's going to be Cognito based authentication. In API gateway, we can have Lambda based authentication also, meaning the request will be forwarded to that Lambda, and Lambda can check against database, or it can have a custom code, and then it can give back the token for us. So that is one way, but we are simply going to use a Cognito service, and we are going to use a learn quiz app setup. The header for this is authorization. So this is a header in which the token will be passed. Cool. I'll create this authorizer, learn quiz app, and I'll go to my quiz app resource. So for each and every resource, I'll update the authorizer now. So I can go here, I can go to learn quiz app setup. So this is going to be my authorization. I'm not going to set up any kind of authorization. So we are going to see the difference between authentication and authorization. But the point to be noted here is I'm doing it only for the authentication to see if the user can sign in into the system and they can able to access the Lambda or not. So that's what we are going to do. Cool. I've done this for the slash endpoint, which is to get all the quizzes. I'm going to do the same for quiz endpoint also. So quiz endpoint should use a learn quiz app setup. This is good. I'll do this for the compute score. Okay, cool. So now we have modified the API gateway and our deployment is complete with the AWS Amplify. So now what I'll do is, just to summarize the things, this is a Cognito which we have set up, and we made sure like Amplify will use the corresponding Cognito user pool, and we made changes in the API gateway, so API gateway can also talk to the corresponding Cognito user pool. Cool. I'll go to quiz.easyinfra.dev. Okay, and then I'll say join quiz. So now it will ask for sign in with Cognito. Okay, there is an error encountered. The page. I think this is a good time to see how to debug this error. So you can see it's using the learn quiz app setup, okay, which is good. If I go to the Amplify, I can go to monitoring. Okay, and then I'll go to hosting compute logs. So this is a CloudWatch logs, which is available for Amplify. We'll start trailing, and then maybe I'll do it one more time. Quiz.easyinfra.dev. Okay, I think that is already a session existing. Quiz.easyinfra.dev. Join quiz. Okay, the error encountered. It's saying like the redirect mismatch. I think there is some kind of URL redirection mismatch. Okay, got it. Okay, I found the issue. So when I go to my hosted app, this is my app. And if I go to my allowed callback settings, you can see I've given the base URL only. But the allowed callback for NextAuth should have the proper URL like this, API auth callback Cognito. So this is what I should have given, but I've given it as the base path. So now I'll save these changes. And if I can go back to my I go back to quiz portal, I'll say sign in. Cool. Now we could able to see the full the proper the sign in information, and you can see the logo which we updated is also coming here. This is a hosted UI, so it is created by Cognito itself, and we are just going to use it. And if you see, we don't have any users in our system. So if I go to user pool, learn quiz app setup, there is empty user. So I'm going to do a sign up first. I'm going to say So you can see all the conditions are being checked. So I'll do a sign up. So if you do a sign up, if you remember, Cognito will send an email with the verification code and we have to give that verification code. So, okay, it gone to the spam folder. So we can get the verification code. Okay, cool. So, but the catch here is it is giving a problem. If I go to my network, I refresh this page, it's saying 401. Even though we are sending the authorization. The reason for that is, if I go to my API gateway, so we modified the method request to use the learn quiz app, but we never did a deploy to the staging environment. So we'll do a deployment. This is an important step, and usually I'll miss this one. So we have a stage called V1 where we want to deploy our changes. So we'll deploy these changes, and now hopefully this should be good. If I refresh this page, you can see the loader icon is there, and it could be able to connect to the API gateway, Lambda, DynamoDB, and get the information. So we'll go to the entire flow also. Okay. So I can say centralized logging is false, supports all these things, log groups, which has integration with CloudWatch. All the things have integration with CloudWatch, and default monitoring for EC2 instances 10 minutes. So I can do a submit. Okay, cool. So I could able to get back the result. And you can see I'm logged in as Prasanna CC 2005. So which means the information about this quiz will be stored against this user in the database, DynamoDB. Okay, cool. This is an application demo which we want to set up. We saw a few hiccups, but we could able to use the logging, and then I thought maybe I'll not edit those part because I feel that is a learning which we have to have also. Like there could be a lot of hiccups, but it is always good to understand how to debug the things. And one more thing which I want to mention is, like, setting up this app is not a straightforward task. There is like pretty much no resources available to set up this app. For example, like in having the Amplify, talking to Cognito using NextAuth. That is something which is like really difficult. So I'm thinking about like creating one more video on how this app is being set up. But this is not about the DevOps side of things. It's about the developer side of things. Yeah, but it will not be in the playlist also. So I'll create a separate playlist for that, and I'll add this video there. Okay, but hope you enjoyed this demo. Yeah, we'll see it in a bit. Okay, so we saw the demo preparations and the demo also. So like again, just to do a very quick recollection, we created a Cognito user pool. We added a hosted UI. We added a client app so that we'll know which app is going to use a user pool. And then we updated our secrets in the Amplify application, which is deployed in which is there. And then we updated the API gateway to use a Cognito. So this is what we did in the demo part. Cool. Now I just want to like touch upon few concepts which you need to understand on top of like setting up the things with Cognito. So the first one is like authentication and authorization, the difference between both the things. For example, to understand authentication, we signed in to the system using username and password, which is a email ID and password. That is called authentication. That means you are saying like you are the right person. For example, if I say Prasanna, I am Prasanna. That's what you are doing with authentication part. Authorization part is, for example, I'm a person who will be taking the quiz. I'm not a person who will be creating the quiz. So there is some kind of permissions involved there. So it validates the permission to do the operation. So you can say like you are the right person who's Prasanna, but whether Prasanna has a permission to create quiz or not. So that is what answered by the authorization part. And usually authentication is mentioned by auth N, authorization is mentioned by auth Z. Okay. And Cognito supports both authentication and authorization. even though in the demo we saw only the authentication part. Cool. The next one which I want to touch upon is this JWT token. So if you remember, like once we signed into the system, we said like we'll be getting some kind of token, and that token is used for validating the request in API gateway. Okay, that token is called JWT token. It is a very famous format, and most of the modern applications now use a JWT token only. So just to give you a quick overview, if you go to JWT token, you can see JSON web tokens, jwt.io. Okay, so you can see a structure like this. There is a red portion, there is a pink portion, and then there is a blue portion. So this defines a header, payload, and the signature. The signature is important part which will ensure like this token is not tampered. So using this signature only, API gateway, the backend will verify with Cognito that this is a legitimate token. Okay. Maybe like just to show you the things, here we have our application. Okay. If I'm going to check for this API call, so I got back the result from AWS Gateway. The reason for that is there is authorization header being sent, and there is a value here. So this is called as token. So I'm just going to copy paste this entire token into the jwt.io console. So here, if I do the same, you can see the information here. So it's going to use algorithm as RS256. And the payload contains the information like what is the identity pool we are going to use, and what is the email ID. This is an important part for us. So it's going to say the user associated with this token is Prasanna, csc2005@gmail.com. Okay, and it will have the proper signature also. It will say signature verified because it's a valid token. So this is the JWT concept, and pretty much most of the systems nowadays use JWT token. So it is mandatory to understand this. If you want to have a elaborate discussion about JWT, please let me know in the comments. I'll add that one. I'll add a new video for that. Cool. So JWT is used for verifying in the both front end and in the back end also. Integrations. So I thought like I should quickly talk about the integration. Currently, this is integrations for Cognito. Okay. Currently, we saw integration with the API gateway, but there are integrations with Lambda as well. The usage for that is, for example, whenever the user successfully sign up to your application, you might want to send a welcome email. So you can do those kind of things using Lambda. So after a specific event, after the user enters a verification code, and if he becomes a legitimate user, then this Lambda function will be invoked. So that is like one use case. And like how we did authentication with the API gateway, similarly, we can do the authentication with the load balancer also. So for example, if you host your application in EC2 instance, and there is a load balancer to route the traffic, even in that case, you can, from the load balancer itself, you can talk to Cognito UserPool, check the user's identity, and then pass the request to the corresponding EC2 instance. So that is also possible. Cool. I think like we came to the end of the session where I just want to talk about the Cognito advantages. Maybe this is not needed now because throughout the session, I discussed about various advantages. Maybe this is going to be like a summary for that. So integration with other AWS services is available by default. So API gateway can use it, Lambda can use it, ALB can use it. So it is like very convenient for us. And multi-factor authentication. So for example, if you want to set up things by yourself, it is going to be very difficult. It could be a MFA, or it could be like setting the password policy, making sure the password expiration policy is also there. So all these things will be like really difficult if you want to do it by yourself. And Cognito gives a very good way to block the user or have some kind of adaptive authentication, meaning if there is a suspicious activity, for example, if a user logs in from a different country, then those kind of suspicious activity can be blocked, or you can have additional authentication only in that case. So all those things are possible with Cognito. And OAuth setup is like very straightforward. Like we just need to make one more checkbox and OAuth setup will be available for us. And all the email integration for password reset or the sign up or the email or phone verification can be easily done using SES or using Cognito itself. And the hosted UI for login. We didn't write any code for having the login page. So it is coming by default with Cognito itself. So these are some of the quick benefits of using AWS Cognito service. Okay, so we came to the end of the section. So I hope you like this serverless series where we created the actual app using all the serverless technologies. And this app is like free to use also. So I'll be giving the the GitHub link of this completely working app in the description below. So you can please feel free to check that one. And if you like the format I use and if you get value out of my sessions, please let me know in the comments. That is like very much encouraging for me to do sessions like this. Also, please let your friends also know about the Learn AWS in 30 Days series. Okay. Yeah, I hope like you had a very good learning. Keep learning. Bye bye.